Trump has given his first interview after surviving the assassination attempt at the weekend. He talked about how he's lucky to be alive, why his shoes fell off during the attack, and how the events of the weekend will change his campaign going forward. He spoke to a New York Post reporter. Let me give you some of the key things that he said, and we'll talk about them. On surviving the assassination attempt, he told the Post the doctors at the hospital said that they'd never seen anything like this. They called it a miracle. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be dead. By luck or by God, many people are saying it's by God, I'm still here. And Caleb and Liz, I don't think anyone would disagree with that. Had it not been for that slight turn of the head at the last moment and a couple of millimetres, we'd have a very different story this week.
Indeed. The irony that looking at a chart of the illegal immigration, the almost half of Australia's population that has poured over the southern border during the Biden administration, that's what he was looking at. That is what saved his life, according to Trump's own turn of events. He's like, that's what I was doing. I just turned my head slightly to look at a chart that I was talking about, and that is what saved my life. So we've said for many, many months now, it's this amount of illegal immigration that's going to see him back into the White House if he just keeps talking about illegal immigration. And here we see it, having literally saved his life. So, I do believe it's a miracle. We are talking about millimetres between a grazed ear and a bullet lodged in the brain. And he well knows that and has attributed it to an act of God in a tweet of his that we'll get to in a bit.
We've actually found a reason that illegal immigration is good for once. You know, it saved Donald Trump's life. And I mean, this interview he did with the New York Post is so Donald Trump in the quotes, right? Now, we'll get a bit later into what happened with the Secret Service and how badly they blundered things, but, you know, he does have to give some credit to them. And he says in this interview, speaking of what the Secret Service did to the bloke who tried to shoot him, and I'm not going to name him, he doesn't deserve it, they took him out with one shot right between the eyes. They did a fantastic job. It's surreal for all of us. The agents hit me so hard that my shoes fell off, and my shoes are tight. Now, it's good to know that he's rocking around in tight shoes, but I was wondering, because, of course, when he stood back up, one of the first things he said was, let me get my shoes, let me get my shoes. And I'm thinking, the dude's just been shot and the first thing he's concerned with is getting his shoes. I thought maybe he got up on stage and, like, I don't know, he takes them off so he can sort of wiggle his toes around while he's up on the stage. But no, with all the force that they hit him, his shoes came off. And I also thought it was really funny to see how scraggly his hair was, because we know how much Trump cares about his look, right? And the hair is the distinctive look.
The toupee went flying.
And he got up. Well, the toupee didn't come off if it is a toupee. I suspect it's his real hair, actually. But anyway, he got up and he looked like he had bed hair and, like, he just had this gnarly look on him. It was so good to see.
It was the best. Wasn't it? That was the highlight, the defiance of this man. Keep in mind, when he fell to the ground, all he'd done was grasp his ear and be like, oh, something's going on here. Fell to the ground. You don't actually know in those seconds. He would have been crouched on the ground going, am I shot? Where am I shot? I know that I'm bleeding. Because a lot of people, when they are shot, their first question is, am I shot? Because, of course, your adrenaline shoots through the roof. You don't know how serious it is at the time, etc. Raises his fist in defiance and mouths, fight, fight, fight. And that's what he spoke about next in this interview. He said a lot of people say it's the most iconic photo they've ever seen. They're right. And I didn't die. Usually you have to die to have an iconic picture. I just wanted to keep speaking, but I just got shot. You don't get more Trump than this. Of course, the lefty media took umbrage to the fact that this had been his attitude seconds after being shot, and they're saying, oh, that's not the message that we think should be sent right now. What on earth other message do you want to see from the man vying for the top spot as leader of the free world, which is currently a joke? There's not much freedom going on, is there? But commander-in-chief, that is the kind of strength and dignity and fighting spirit that you want to see in a guy who's just been shot. And I dare say at the time, again, he still didn't know what the damage was. And I dare say that was a message to everyone there and watching around the world, no matter what happens to me. from this day forward, you guys have got to continue the fight.
Yeah.
Fight these guys.
Yeah.
He's called out deep state. He's said umpteenth dozen times, I'm going after these guys, these global elites. I'm not playing their game, which is why we always say the establishment is genuinely terrified of this guy, and they've got every reason to be. So he's saying, in my absence, while I'm here, I'm fighting. But if I'm gone, you guys fight.
His presence of mind in that moment, he says in the interview that he was very aware, and how he was aware in the split seconds with everything that was happening says a lot about him. But he said, I was very aware the whole world is watching this moment, and so I've got to make sure I project strength. The other thing I love about Trump is the internal contradictions. One minute he's saying, but for the grace of God, and the next minute he's saying, I'm a living icon. How amazing is pride? So there's humility and pride.
Both are true.
All the same thing. And I mean, he's just been shot and he says, but how good was the photo?